Hey there. It's another beautiful day and I've got my coffee. So let's watch some stuff.
Welcome, cosmic explorers. Ever pondered why the stars remain unchanged despite our solar system's brisk voyage through space? Our solar system orbits the Milky Way at a staggering 514,000 miles per hour. Yet the immense distances between stars make our journey seem static. Consider this, the closest star, Proxima Centauri, is over 4.2 light years away. At our speed, it would take around 7,000 years to travel just 1 light year. Astonishing, right? Astronomers use a method called parallax to measure these vast distances. It reveals tiny shifts in star positions due to Earth's orbit around the Sun, but these shifts are minute, barely noticeable. And here's another twist. Stars themselves are also moving, orbiting the galaxy's center. Their colossal distances from us, however, make their movements appear almost static over our lifetimes. Our human perception is limited. We can't easily notice these subtle cosmic dances. It's the vastness of space that masks the grand choreography of our universe. So the next time you gaze at the night sky, remember we're all part of a subtle cosmic ballet. Stay tuned for more journeys into the wonders of the cosmos.
It really is quite mind boggling to think about how fast we're actually moving through space. Obviously, it doesn't feel like we're moving, but we're like just freaking going. And not only are we moving crazy fast, everything else out there is moving crazy fast too. And it's all, I guess, going in the same direction and moving. God, it looks minuscule to us, but it's great distances to those rocks out there flying through nothing. As you can see, I'm back in my office slash studio. Thank goodness. It was so nice to have my family out. I love seeing them. They live all the way across the country, so it's so great to see them when we can. Um, I'm still dealing with this dang cold. Thankfully, it's not COVID, so I apologize for the smelly cat voice. And we'll get through this. Hey, I just wanted to take a second and thank you so much for hanging out with me for today's coffee talk. If you're having a good time, maybe you consider hitting that subscribe button and come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every day.
I'm still not convinced though, and here's one reason why. Don't get me wrong, I think it is possible that molds could have been used to create the limestone blocks, but from this documentary, Great Pyramid Cave 2019, notice how they're making the casing stones already flat. This is the Menkore Pyramid, the small one, and notice how the casing stones have this really pillowy look to them. If they were molded, they wouldn't have that shape, but also, do you notice anything when it comes to these casing stones on the pyramid? Take note on how this side is flat and finished, and then abruptly changes to an unfinished look. Here at the entrance to the Menkore Pyramid, you can really see the transition. Flat, not flat, and there's like an obvious change right here mid-stone. To me, it looks like they stacked the blocks and then flattened each side. Also notice how some of the unfinished casing stones have these strange nubs protruding from the blocks. Right there, right there, right there. Here's a different wall in Egypt that has the nubs. What do we find on the stones in South America? Nubs. The nubs are everywhere. These nubs are found on ancient masonry all across the planet, and we still don't know why.
Pouring is an interesting theory. I don't buy it. I mean, they already found the location where they believe these stones to have been quarried, right? Hundreds of miles away. So, pouring would just be, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't fit in. I still believe that the pyramids were found by the Egyptians, not built by the Egyptians, and they were built by civilization previous to our own that was much more advanced. As far as those little nubs are concerned, what do you think they're for?
What would happen if the sun exploded? Our sun, a massive ball of burning gases, provides the light and heat necessary for life on Earth. But what if it suddenly exploded? The sun's explosion, known as a supernova, would release an immense amount of energy, sending shock waves and radiation in all directions. The first effects would be felt on Earth within seconds. The shock wave would reach us, causing the atmosphere to heat up and expand rapidly. Within minutes, the Earth's surface temperature would rise significantly, causing widespread wildfires and melting ice caps. The oceans would boil away, and the atmosphere would become toxic, making it impossible for humans and most other life forms to survive. Without the sun's gravitational pull, the Earth would be flung out into space, becoming a lifeless, frozen world. So, while the sun's explosion would be a catastrophic event, it's important to remember that it's not something we need to worry about anytime soon. For now, Let's appreciate the sun for what it is, a vital source of light and warmth that sustains life on Earth. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and follow for more fascinating videos. Until next time, stay curious.
Well, that was neat. It went a different direction than I was expecting it to go. And since I don't screen my videos all the way through before I react to them, sometimes it's a surprise as to what I'm going to get. And I actually enjoyed that one. Basically, if the sun were to go supernova, we wouldn't even know it. It would take out Earth so fast, nobody would even realize it was coming. And that's kind of satisfying to know because I wouldn't want to know. I wouldn't want to know how long I had to live if it was, yeah, seconds, I guess. We'd probably have seconds to know. Yeah, I wouldn't want to know.
Sight is what you see with your eyes, and vision is what you see with your mind. What if this has been right in front of our face all along? Does that look familiar to you? Looks like a pyramid to me. Out of all the writing in every single pyramid, there's not one piece of writing that talks about how the pyramids were actually made. But what if it's because the people who found the pyramid were at the top and that information's at the bottom? But we've seen this before because just like the Easter Island statues, they have full bodies. And it took us a very long time to actually figure this out. And on the back was writing that we never knew was there. We couldn't see it the whole time. So what if what happened here is the same thing that happened here? It's definitely something to think about.
Now, I know this may be a little surprising, but I'd never considered that. I know it's not that surprising, but I seriously have not considered that. That is incredible. Have they done digging like down, but not below because you know stuff will fall on you, but but down farther? Have they done that? Done more digging around the pyramids? I don't even know. I know there's a certain level where they have dug down to find where there's the quartz, right? And how they came up with the theory of the electricity generation. But have they gone down farther? Because that's incredible. I know the thing about the Easter Islands statues was pretty recent, and that's also incredible. So yeah, who's to say that there's not more down lower? Did they dig?
Some information on that, and I think Peggy has a little bit too.
So why don't we get into it?
Let's get into the Grand Canyon material. And apparently, some people have probably seen this before, but there was an excavation made, an expedition to a certain area of the Grand Canyon in the early part of the 20th century. And it was sponsored by the Smithsonian Institution. And a fellow had discovered a cavern about halfway up a cliff face as he was rafting, or boating at that time, they didn't really have rafts, down the Colorado. And he explored and found that there was a series of caverns that went way into the stone, deep chambers, and he found that there were mummies there, hieroglyphics, pottery, and things that looked Egyptian and even Oriental in character. And he brought the information back. The expedition was funded by the Smithsonian, and they went out with a professor by the name of Jordan. It was reported on April 5th, 1909, in the Arizona Gazette and in the Phoenix Gazette. And I have a version of the Arizona Gazette material, and I just happened to Xerox a few copies off for people to have so
Let
they
me
can
have
read
one
it.
of those so I can
Sure.
hold it up and maybe I can get a camera shot of it.
Wanted to make sure everybody here tonight had a chance to have the information, have the information for themselves.
Well, you know, I think what is so interesting, John, is when I was reading over the two articles in the Phoenix Gazette, the article starts off with, "This is one of the oldest and possibly the most important archaeological finds in the world." And the fact that hardly anyone has even heard of it. I mean, to give you an idea of the extent of these caverns, they said they could easily house 50,000 people in these caverns. There were hundreds of rooms, a shrine that contained the idol of a deity that they believed looked like Buddha.
Looked like Buddha, yes.
I mean, this article,
They were mentioning it, they were
mind-boggling.
calling it, I found this interesting when I first read the article, they considered it to be oriental in nature. Now, back in the early part of the 20th century, oriental meant anything from Egypt east. The Middle East was considered part of the Orient. And so we weren't necessarily thinking of China or someplace like that.
I know I'd already done a video on that recently. Well, I know I had already done talked about that a little bit, but I saw a few more things about it since. There's the Y files. If you go to the Y files, the gentleman does like a whole 30 minutes on it, and it's fantastic. So apparently, these huge, vast cave networks were found. So apparently, there's an entrance in the wall of the Grand Canyon, and it's 100 some odd feet up now. Obviously, when it was dug at that time, they believed it was at water level. And like they said, it's like an entire civilization lived there. And it's really intriguing how the Smithsonian funded it. And then they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's really crazy. But the only information about that is those articles. And everything else has just been swept under the rug.
What happened to these 9 experienced hikers? In February of 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers set out on a trek through the Ural Mountains. They were led by a man named Igor Dyatlov, and their goal was to reach the peak of the mountain, known as Otorden. But something went horribly wrong. When the hikers failed to return as planned, a search and rescue team was sent out to find them. But what they discovered was a scene straight out of a nightmare. The hiker's tent was found to have been cut open from the inside, as if they were trying to escape something. The hikers themselves were found scattered across the mountain, some of them still in their sleeping bags, as if they had been trying to flee in a hurry. The hikers' bodies showed signs of extreme trauma, with some of them having broken bones and missing eyes. But the most bizarre thing was that their clothing contained high levels of radiation. It was reported that the hikers encountered an avalanche, and the missing body parts were the work of animals. However, to this day, no one knows exactly.
So I can understand if there was actually an avalanche and some of them had survived it, they would want to cut out of the tent versus finding the door. You're like, oh, panic here, we got to cut ourselves out after the snow stops, right? That makes perfect sense. I get that. But why would their clothes have been like radioactive? Is there such thing as like radioactively induced panic? I don't know what the symptoms of radiation poisoning are. If that's one of them, then that would make a lot of sense, right? But there's a whole lot of speculation around this particular trek and what happened to these people, but there is no definitive answer that I know of. If there is, let me know. I'd like to know what, science has come up with.
Ancients used sound vibrations and frequencies to carve and levitate heavy stones and objects. Research indicates that Egyptians had some device that could be tuned to a specific frequency, and with it, they could cut massive stones. One of the shreds of evidence of these devices is the Al-Nasla rock formation found in Saudi Arabia. 2 6-meter-high boulders, 20 feet high, stand atop their pedestals, separated by a perfectly smooth crack. It looks like it's been cut in half by a laser beam. One geologist says that the split could have been caused by freeze-thaw weathering, but others say the split is too precise and smooth to have natural causes. It's speculated that the formation is evidence of early high technology.
That is a very small shred pointing to potential evidence. That's not evidence. Those don't even... How does that rock formation prove in any shape or form that Egyptians had a device capable of tuning and lifting rocks? I don't see the correlation there. I don't even see how that could be used as evidence, the way it's just sitting there. That doesn't it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Besides, the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids. They found them. They had already been built by the previous civilization. I am totally convinced of that. Oh, that being said, I'm calling it today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Here's my cutting room floor.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, my nose don't work. It couldn't be for carrying them. I mean, they're just too heavy. And if I could just get my nose to cooperate with me just a little bit today. Apparently, these huge, vast network, just a vast network of caves. So something must have terrified them so much that they felt the need to cut their way out of their tent. That's creepy. I really didn't explain the early high technology. We'd just be gone. It would be over in an instant, and that would suck. Well, no, it really wouldn't, because you wouldn't know that it sucked. It would just be over. There is a long nap in my future. Is that even a thing? I know there was also something that I had. My husband's outside the window. He's waving at me. uh, I'm just going to keep talking because I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, it would be a blink of an eye. We wouldn't even notice, or we wouldn't even know. We wouldn't even realize. There would be no realization. We get a little surprise every time. Well, for me, I get a surprise every time. So do you, I guess, if you haven't seen it before. We can get this show on the road. Of course, I didn't consider that. Here's some rock formation, and there's your proof. No, I don't need to do another one. All right, here we are, day 5. I'm starting to think that this experiment might be a little compromised because I'm sick, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway.